Before start this video, please subscribe my channel and click on bell icon. Thanks.
True artists don't strive for fame. But even so, it's vital for their work to be seen, read, or otherwise experienced by the public. The wider the audience, the stronger the artist's influence on prevailing thoughts and opinions. And all artists, authors, painters, singers, and more want their work seen, analyzed, and considered by society. The most influential artists can stir emotions, alter perspectives, and leave a lasting impact on the world. But what happens when that impact isn't felt until long after the artist is gone? It's heartbreaking to think about, but many artists remain relatively unknown and anonymous until after their deaths. Their works take on greater significance only after they pass away and leave this mortal realm forever. Let's look at 10 world-famous artists who experienced exactly that situation. From authors to painters, here are 10 underappreciated and impoverished artists who passed away before their work became famous. They never got the reputation and respect they'd worked for in life, but after death, it all came flooding in. Related, 10 rare discoveries about famous artists and their art. 10 Charles Bukowski, the excessive but strangely saintly life of Charles Bukowski. The author Charles Bukowski is a prime example of a literary figure whose genius went unnoticed during his lifetime. It was not until the waning years of his life and the decades following his death that Bukowski's works attained the recognition and adulation they deserved. As an enigmatic artist, he was marked by a relentless pursuit of truth and unflinching portrayal of the human condition. That eventually led him to the realms of literary fame and worldwide respect. But it didn't happen in his lifetime. Born in 1920, Bukowski spent a significant portion of his life struggling in obscurity. He worked odd jobs while grappling with personal demons. His literary works were often characterized by gritty realism and unapologetic depictions of urban life. He loved to write about those on the margins of society. But despite his undeniable talent, Bukowski's writing largely evaded mainstream recognition throughout his career. It was not until the publication of his semi-autobiographical novel Post Office as a 51-year-old in 1971 that glimpses of literary success began to flicker on the horizon. But even after that, success was decades away, and he didn't have decades to live. After working for most of his life at a post office in Los Angeles, Bukowski's novels finally started getting some attention by the very end of his life. When he died of leukemia in 1994, he had only just started to make it in the literary world. After death, though, his reputation ballooned. Today, 3 decades after his death, Bukowski is a literary icon. The spread of his work across the internet, the popularity of the Beat generation, and a growing appreciation for unconventional voices in literature have all helped. And his raw portrayal of life's hardships mingled with moments of profound beauty struck a chord with readers hungry for authenticity, too. It's just a shame he never lived to see it for himself. 1. 9 Johann Sebastian Bach. Behind the father of classical music, classical destinations perspective, it's not often that you find an artist who completely excels in one talent but struggles mightily with another. But the renowned composer Johann Sebastian Bach faced this unique situation during his life. Despite his undeniable talent as a composer, his works went largely unnoticed while he was alive. However, Bach flourished as an organist at the same time. That was thanks to his musical upbringing in a German family and the wise guidance of his brother after the loss of their parents. Bach held various positions as an organist during his days. He actively participated in the music scene in Europe and regularly earned recognition for his exceptional performances. His compositions remained completely overshadowed. It wasn't until the 19th century, when there was a renewed interest in the Baroque period, that Bach's musical genius finally gained recognition. During his career, he revolutionized Baroque music by infusing elements from Italy and France. His ideas elevated the German style to its peak. But the problem was that nobody knew it until after he died. But although it took time, Bach's compositions now resonate worldwide. In that way, he has fulfilled every artist's ultimate desire for their work to be appreciated by audiences across the globe. It just didn't happen when he could experience it firsthand. 8. Henry David Thoreau. Be a loser. The philosophy of Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau is now known as a profound thinker and influential figure. But it wasn't always that way. He was largely ignored and misunderstood during his time. Despite this, his impact on individuals like Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi cannot be understated. But his thinking was outside the box during his life. And thus, Thoreau's unconventional ideas and activism distanced him from mainstream society in the 19th century. Of course, Thoreau found solace in nature. That became the central theme of his most widely read book Walden. But life was challenging for the writer beyond that. Many of his works struggled to find publishers. He even funded the publication of some of them himself after being largely ignored by mainstream presses. And in doing that on his own, he often only sold a precious few copies at a time. Amazingly, Thoreau passed away with just 2 professionally published works. And upon his death, they received little attention from the general public. He had remained essentially unknown in the literary world throughout his life. Yet today, he is regarded as a literary titan. His works, such as Civil Disobedience, continue to inspire great leaders. And his reflections on nature encourage artists and thinkers to reassess the significance of the natural world and the simple pleasures in life. It was a long road to the top for Thoreau, but he finally got there, more than a century after his death. 7. Claude Monet. Claude Monet, father of French Impressionist painting. Mini-biography. Claude Monet may have been the founder of French Impressionism, but he faced a tragic journey during his life. His groundbreaking works now adorn walls worldwide and are considered masterpieces. But at the time he painted in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, his works were criticized as formless and unfinished. Art buyers found them ugly. The art world mostly turned their back on the painter. And in short order, this condemnation plunged Monet and his family into years of dire poverty. Monet's unique form and technique captured the essence of atmospheric light in his landscape paintings. He believed that a landscape's true nature is ever-changing, brought to life by the surrounding atmosphere. His masterpiece, Impression, Sunrise, gave birth to a new artistic movement. However, it took nearly a decade for his works to gain recognition and sell, beginning in the 1880s. Yet, even amid his modest success, Monet faced accusations of commercialism from fellow painters. Of course, we now know he suffered partial blindness, That resulted in vibrant bursts of color devoid of distinct shapes in his later paintings. But throughout his life, things never came easy for the painter. While he's massively popular today, he never knew it while creating art. Only at the very end of his life, and really, after his death, did Monet's work take hold. 4. 6. Johannes Vermeer lost art, forgery, and thefts. The enigmatic Vermeer raiders of the lost art perspective today. Johannes Vermeer is respected as one of the most famous artists to hail from Holland. But he had a long wait after death to become renowned for his creation. Born in 1632, little is known about his early life. After his father's death, Vermeer took over the family art business. It's unclear whether, or where, he apprenticed as an artist, but soon enough, he had gained knowledge via his experience in the art trade. Vermeer created his own paintings that focused on the provincial middle class instead of the church or nobility. In 1675, he borrowed money in Amsterdam to be a full-time artist. But his lack of sales left him unable to repay the loan, and it left his family in debt. After Vermeer's death, art historians overlooked his paintings for 2 centuries. Although some connoisseurs in the Netherlands appreciated his work, many of his pieces were mistakenly attributed to more famous artists. But after 200 years of relative anonymity, museum director Gustav Wagen saw the art of painting in the Chernin Gallery. He fell in love with it and pushed for Vermeer to finally receive recognition. Initially attributed to Peter de Hock, the painting prompted further research and the creation of a catalogue of Vermeer's works. Now, art lovers and historians alike know quite a bit more about the artist's work, even if his life remains a mystery. His art continues to inspire other painters today, too. And yet none of this was feasible when Vermeer died in the late 17th century. 5. Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson suffered the cruel fate of time's backwardness. Despite creating numerous poems, only a handful of her nearly 1,800 compositions were published while she lived. Moreover, these published poems underwent significant alterations to conform to the conventional rules of the era. It was only after death that her true intellect and talent were fully understood. Characterized as an eccentric, Dickinson deliberately kept her extensive collection of poems away from the public eye until her passing. Her seclusion was legendary. She seldom received visitors or even ventured beyond her bedroom. She maintained friendships primarily through written correspondence. And yet her undeniable talent and unique style cannot be overlooked. Dickinson's poems featured concise lines, which was rare at the time. They also often employ slant rhymes, unconventional capitalization, and punctuation. In her letters to friends, she frequently explored themes of death and immortality. Those then seamlessly translated into her poetry. Then, after Dickinson passed away in 1886, her younger sister, Lavinia, stumbled upon her hidden trove of poems. Recognizing what was there, she finally unveiled the remarkable collection to the world. The poet's first collection was published 4 years after her death, in 1890. Dickinson was lambasted by critics at the time, but patience won out. In the ensuing decades, she came to be regarded as one of the greatest ever American poets. Even today, her legacy carries on strongly as a master of the genre. And yet she never lived to see any of it, and might well have been horrified by it had she done so. 6. For Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe, tormented genius? Documentary Edgar Allan Poe is now known for his dark tales and poetry. Unsurprisingly, he was deeply influenced by his troubled life. Born in 1809, his father abandoned the family and his mother succumbed to tuberculosis. Tragedy struck again with his brother's death not long after that. It ended up being what spurred Poe's writing career. Yet surviving as a writer was as tough then as it is now. And for most of his life, Poe never found financial success or worldwide acclaim based on the things he wrote. The pain in Poe's life extended to his marriage with his 13-year-old cousin, Virginia. She died from tuberculosis only 4 years after they were wed. Her loss deeply affected him. It can be seen now in his renowned poem, The Raven, where a talking raven visits a distraught lover before descending into madness. But despite the poem's international success nowadays, Poe received a mere $9 for its publication. Poe's struggles persisted until his own untimely demise. His alcoholism and personal issues became evident as his adult life carried forth. His demons led to unsuccessful attempts at starting a journal. And with his career on the outs, it all ended for him in a sad way. Tragically, he was found unconscious in a Baltimore gutter in 1849. He was quickly pronounced dead due to unknown causes. None of the respect he's earned in the 2 centuries since ever came to him in life. 7. Jeff Buckley. The tragic death of the musician making of grace. Few modern musicians have achieved posthumous fame on the scale of Jeff Buckley. Born in 1966 to the legendary folk singer Tim Buckley, Jeff struggled to carve out his own identity as a musician. Despite his undeniable talent, his star failed to ascend during his short life. Thanks for watching. Credits to listverse.com. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.